It's not over yet. If you still believe in the Dallas Mavericks, hit that like button. Got to keep the faith. Coop and I have slept on it. We're going to take a look at what's gone poorly through 2 games and hopefully find some solutions for Game 3 and beyond. So if you still believe in the Dallas Mavericks, hit that like button and let's dive into today's show. Welcome into Mavericks Today. Jeffrey Cooperstein and Harrison Graham here with you after the Mavs lost 105-98. This won't really be a post-game show. It'll be more of just what's been the issues through 2 games, what was an issue last night, and then we'll turn to what we think could be some adjustments that Jason Kidd will try to turn to. I think, Coop, the number one thing that is obvious, and this isn't even really going to be an adjustment that has to take place.
Correct.
Kyrie Irving just simply has got to play, not just better, significantly better.
You've got to find something with him, man. He has to be a top 3 player in this series, otherwise you're not going to win. Plain and simple. He was bad in Game 1. I said you couldn't afford to have another bad game from Kyrie. Well, you had one again, just 16 points and 7 of 18 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. I don't know what's going on, man. I wonder if he just got affected by the crowd in Boston and couldn't get over it or what, but it has not been good, and I don't want to say it's been a trend throughout the playoffs, but he hasn't been as good in the playoffs as he has in the regular season.
No, he hasn't, and I do think the Boston environment has gotten to him. He won't admit it, but after Game 1, he drops the line of, I thought it was going to be louder, and then going to the tunnel after losing Game 2, he's pointing to the crowd, throwing up the number 5. We'll see you in Game 5. It's like, you better.
Will ya?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, I feel like his maturity the last year and a half, he shouldn't be doing that stuff, especially with the Mavericks down. And yeah, look, the numbers are certainly a little bit down in the postseason. I don't think he's been bad by any means. Like, he's certainly had some big games and is a big reason why you're in the finals. But yeah, he hasn't been good enough in these playoffs at times, and especially in this series. I mean, let's be honest, Coop. Let's just go through it real quick. How many players would you name off between these 2 teams before getting to Kyrie in terms of how they've played in 2 games?
Yeah, I think
I would say
Luka's number 1.
P.J. Washington's been better for sure. He has in 2 games. Probably he has been better. You go to the Celtics. I think the 4 starters outside of Al Horford have all been better. So that's 6, and Porzingis. So he's been the 8th best player in this series.
Not good
maybe
enough,
he's got to be top 3 or 4 for you to have a chance. So, again, it just points to he's got to be significantly better. He's got to have multiple games where you're talking about he might have been the best player on the court tonight, because the God-honest truth is that Boston is a deeper, more balanced and talented team. That just is what it is. So your second star has to be like it every game. And through 2 games, he's been nowhere near that level.
And I was curious, so I kind of crunched these numbers throughout the postseason, and it's kind of more alarming than you would even think. He has 7 games of 20 points or less in 19 games in the postseason, 10 games of 5 assists or less, 6 games 40% from the field or less, and 9 games of less than 3 3-pointers made. It has not been a good postseason for Kyrie. I think it's fair to say at this point. He's had some flashes. He's had a couple of good games, but for what he is and for what the Mavs need him to be, he has not been good enough.
Yeah, for what his level. I mean, the Oklahoma City series, Washington had to have 2 monster games. Otherwise, they probably lose that series.
Yeah.
He had, a 29 and a 27-point game against Oklahoma City. That kind of bailed him out. And look, he's the sidekick. He doesn't have to be the top guy every time, but he's a max player, man. He's got to be better than this for you to even have a chance at beating the Boston Celtics at this point. So, look, I think it's a tough matchup because Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday are clearly 2 tough guards for him. Derrick White even. I think the Boston crowd has gotten to him. And like he said last night, and I do agree with him, he's missing shots that he's accustomed to making. So when you're already off, plus you're going up against a tough matchup, I don't know, man. It doesn't feel like the chances are that great for him to get going on a big-time level. Certainly he needs to be better, but how much better can he be? I'm not sure. Who has been the Mavs' second-best player in the finals? I think it's been clearly P.J. Washington. Yep. Last night, you could make an argument for Daniel Gafford. He didn't do anything in Game 1, though. So I think through 2 games, it's clearly been Washington. I would say it's Luka off the screen, Washington, and then just the rest of the team. Like it's not been anywhere close.
And it's not just Kyrie that struggled, and we'll get into more of that in just a few moments. But they just need Kyrie to play better. Plain and simple, he's got to be better in Game 3. And you know what? I think he will be better in Game 3. There's just no way he's not, right?
Out of all the guys that have played below their level, he's the only one that you would sit there and say, I have confidence he will play better.
Yeah.
Like, is Derrick Jones going to get back to what he was in the first 3 rounds? He might, but end of the day, the guy is a role player. Like,
exactly.
And a good one, but, like, I don't know. Like, it's just this might be a little too big for him. It shouldn't be too big for Kyrie Irving. He's been in these spots before, so it's put up or shut up time going into Game 3 for him. We'll get to some adjustments, some other talking points in a moment, but first, let's talk about our sponsor, PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Shout out to that fraud, Jason Tatum, for only taking 7 threes last night. We took the more than 7.5.
Would have won $150.
Coop was at $150 on that one, but we're back on the horse for game number 3. 2 to 6 player entries. You just choose more or less in the stat projections. Less than 15.5 points is what we had for Kristaps. That hit. We took more on Jason Tatum 3-point attempts. He unfortunately took 7 instead of 8. And then we had more on Luka rebounds and assists, which hit as well. But we'll figure out what we got going for Game 3. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. The code CLNS gets you a deposit match up to $100 when you sign up. Choose more, choose less. It's daily fantasy made easy at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. All right, let's talk adjustments, Coop. I don't know where you're at this. This first one's more something I've thrown out there. I would try at least for a snippet of Game 3, especially if you're struggling early. I don't think you lead off with this by any means, but maybe you go to it in the second quarter for a 3, 4, 5-minute stretch, see what happens. I would try some extreme small ball, and that does not mean Kleber at the 5, which they've done some because he can't shoot the ball right now.
Right.
I would go to a P.J. Washington at the 5 lineup. Now, maybe that's a disaster, and Porzingis, they just bring him in, and he just shoots over everybody, and it doesn't make a difference. But I think offensively, it could spread them out. You'd have 5 shooters. Some cutting lanes might open up a little bit. I would give it a look. You already, at times, have not won on the glass. I think they ended up with 2 more rebounds than Boston last night, but they've been giving up a lot of offensive ones.
Yep.
I might give it a look, man, and just see if you can find some mismatches by going very small. I think the small ball era has kind of come and gone to an extent. Like, unless you're the Warriors, like, it's kind of overrated how much it actually works. You do need size in this league, but your size isn't giving you much. Lively through 2 games has been ineffective. Gafford had a good second half last night. Otherwise, he's been pretty average. Kleber can't shoot the ball, so why not? You don't have a ton of options in terms of lineups to have out there to try. I think this is one you could at least experiment with.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I think Jason Kidd has to try to find something in order to throw a wrench at the Celtics because they kind of know what they're getting at this point. It's going to be Luka heavy and Kyrie heavy, and then other than that, they're going to dare other people to make a shot. So why not try to have 5 guys on there that can all at least kind of spread the floor a little bit and give them some athleticism problems. So I don't hate trying it. I'm not sure if Jason Kidd ends up going to that, but I wouldn't hate to see that maybe early in the second quarter if that's something Jason Kidd wants to go to. I do think that Tim Hardaway should get a chance because you're struggling mightily from 3-point range, and I know that he hasn't been good basically since February, but if he knocks down a couple and sees it go in, maybe that helps your case out a little bit as well.
Look, he has not been good for a few months now. He was great the first 35, 40 games of the year, has been, a fringe rotation player since, if we're being honest. But we've seen him in this playoff run win a game basically for you. He did it against Oklahoma City in Game 2, so he's at least capable of that. Is Josh Green capable of winning you a game? Is Maxi Kleber? I think Maxi pre-injury, maybe, because he was shooting the ball really well against the Clippers, and you factor in his defense as well. But I don't think he's currently capable of that. Exum's not the answer. Maybe Jaden Hardy, but with Tim's experience and just ability to be a flamethrower as a shooter, and they're leaving the role players open from 3. He hits a couple. Who knows what could happen? I'm with you. In fact, I'd actually be pretty shocked if he didn't get an early substitution into the game in Game 3.
Yeah, I think he'll be like the eighth man, so to speak, maybe the first guard off the bench. And I think he should let him get a couple shots up and see if they fall. If they don't, you can adjust from there and go to Exum or Hardy. But you got to find something from three-point range, man. And you know Tim's been there and done that before, and he's done it in this postseason at least. So I think you try to find something there. And then lastly, I thought this was a thing that they should have done for game 2, but after the way Gafford played, I think you kind of keep it the same, where you kind of match Lively up with Porzingis if Porzingis plays, which I think he will because he was a little banged up there in the second half of game 2. But I think you kind of stick with the same rotation where Gafford starts, but Lively comes in early and plays from there. And you just see which one's better, and you ride the hotter hand.
Yeah, it seemed like Gafford found something in the second half last night. They rode him for a while, and, they started chipping away. And I thought he was a pretty big reason for that. Had a couple of offensive rebounds, some good post-ups. I mean, if they're going to keep playing wings on him to try and, get the Mavs away from pick-and-roll opportunities, then post-up Gafford. I'm not saying he's Joel Embiid out there, but, he had a couple of nice jump hooks over smaller defenders, so he's at least capable of doing that. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to stick with the traditional 5, I mean, based on 2 games, Gafford's shown a little more ability, so I think he's probably going to get some more run until Lively can prove he can have a bigger impact in this series than he's had so far.
And here are the 3 categories that you just have to improve on if you're going to win Game 3. It's free throw shooting, 16 of 24. Not good enough.
I mean, what do we say after the first quarter? You can't miss 5 free throws in a quarter and win a finals game.
So you have to go 20 of 24 at minimum if you're going to end up beating the Celtics. 3-point shooting, you can't go 6 of 26. You got to make more.
Started 2 for 4, so they were 4 for 22 after that.
That's really bad.
Not good.
You got to make more outside shots, whether it's Luka, whether it's Kyrie. If Washington's open, he's got to knock him down. Same with Jones, same with Kleber, and that's why Tim Hardaway, I think, should be in the game as well. You got to just find a way to make 3-pointers in today's NBA.
And the reality, too, Coop, is with the way that the Celtics are defending, they're leaving role players open from 3.
Yeah.
You have to keep shooting. You don't have a choice. What was the one? Jones caught the one in the corner and just refused to shoot. And you have to. You can't pass up that shot. Your really only chance to get back into this is you become a high 30s 3-point shooting team in terms of percentages. So, you got to make more and you got to keep shooting them. And then, this third one, I think the highlight of this one was the Washington-Luka late game mishap at midcourt. Not only can you not turn it over this much, a lot of these have been unforced. You're just giving the Celtics free possessions here. I call me crazy. You got to be under 10 turnovers the rest of the series.
You absolutely do.
Every possession you have got to really value the basketball.
And the Mavs were the number 1 team in the league in taking care of the ball during the regular season. That has not bared fruit in the postseason. So
no.
You have got to be better. I think you have to be under 10 as well.
That includes. Luka had a solid game last night. He had 8 turnovers, man.
Yeah.
He's got to be 3 or less. I get it. If he's going to give you 10, 12 assists, you're going to live with a few of his turnovers, but 8, that ain't going to cut it, man.
At the end of the day, I think the Mavs have to be perfect to win this series the rest of the way. I know you still have one technically margin for error, but if you're not perfect, I think you're going home. And I think you have to play your best basketball of the season, bar none, in order to get back in this series.
Look, you got to take it a possession at a time, 5-minute stretches at a time, quarter at a time, all the coach speak and all that stuff. Reality is you got to win these next 2.
Yep.
You got to go back to Boston 2-2, put the pressure back on Celtics and, what could be a nervous arena in Game 5. But it all starts with Game 3. If you don't win that game, it's pretty safe to say it's going to be over. No teams come back from 3-0 deficits. So what do you guys think? Will the Mavericks win Game 3? Type W for win, L for lose. Let us know. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, maybe an update on Kristaps Porzingis. I don't think it's too severe, but if something flares up there, we'll discuss that. Plus, get you ready for Game 4, which will be on Wednesday night.
See you soon.